Okay, imagine this. You've just used AI, maybe to draft a big client presentation. Saved you hours, right? But then, just as you're about to hit send, you get that little nagging thought like, wait, did I just cross some kind of ethical line? One I didn't know was there. Well, today, that's exactly what we're diving deep into, navigating those sometimes tricky ethical waters when you're using AI professionally. We're pulling out the key strategies from a really insightful guide. The goal here isn't just rules, it's about giving you a solid framework so you can use AI with confidence, with integrity. Let's turn that nagging doubt into, well, confident action. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because it's so important to see ethics not as constraints holding you back. Think of them more like guardrails, essential guardrails, really. They help you use these incredibly powerful tools safely, responsibly. And honestly, in a world where AI is, popping up everywhere in professional settings, using it ethically, that's not just nice. It's becoming a key differentiator. It shows you're a thoughtful, responsible professional. So yeah, we're going to dig into the core ideas, the practical tools, and how you make those informed choices.
Okay, so let's peel back the layers. This is where it gets really interesting, where the rubber meets the road, you could say.
Yeah.
It kind of boils down to maybe 5 core principles, things that really need to be like hardwired into how you think about using AI. First one, transparency. This isn't just sticking a label AI used here. It's more anticipating what someone might wonder, like, why was AI used? How much did it actually do? So imagine you used AI to draft a whole market analysis for a client proposal. Just saying, AI assisted, probably not enough. Real transparency means being clearer, outlining how much AI did and what your role was in checking it, guiding it. That actually builds trust, doesn't it? It shows you're meticulous.
Precisely. And that flows right into the next one, accountability. You might use AI to draft an email, maybe a report section, but if there's an error in that draft, well, the AI isn't going to take the fall. You are accountable. You take responsibility for the final output.
Okay. So it's kind of like having a super smart intern. They can do a lot of the legwork, but ultimately the buck stops with you. The final piece is on your desk, metaphorically speaking.
Exactly like that. Then there's fairness. This one's huge. It's not just about avoiding bias that might be in the AI's training data. It's about actively making sure your use of AI doesn't make existing biases worse or accidentally create new ones. That takes conscious effort. And, of course, privacy. That's critical. Respecting confidentiality, following all the data protection rules, non-negotiable. And the last one, accuracy.ai. Well, it doesn't have an ego. It can hallucinate, as they say. It can state things with complete confidence that are just wrong, or maybe pull from flawed data. So your job always is to verify, check the outputs, correct any misinformation. Understanding these 5, transparency, accountability, fairness, privacy, accuracy, it's not just, good practice. It's absolutely fundamental for building that trust, keeping your professional reputation solid as AI becomes more common.
Right. And what's fascinating is seeing how those big principles, those core ideas, actually translate into day-to-day habits, especially around disclosure. We're moving from to the how, like client communication. This means figuring out clear ways. Like, when do you tell a client AI was involved? And how detailed do you need to be? Is it just a quick note in an email footer? Or maybe a more detailed chat during a project kickoff?
Now, alongside that, you've got attribution standards. If AI generated, say, a specific paragraph or a data visualization, how do you credit that properly? Especially if it's mixed in with your own work. Then there are expertise boundaries. You need to be really clear about what's your expert knowledge and judgment versus what's assistance from the AI. You definitely don't want clients thinking the AI is the main expert you're relying on.
Yeah, I can see that being a bit tricky. Like, if AI helped me analyze a massive data set for a report, do I need to spell out the number crunching was AI assisted? Or is it enough that I'm presenting the findings and taking ownership?
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of nuance we're talking about. And it connects to modification disclosure. If you took an AI output and then significantly edited it, maybe added your own analysis, clarifying that helps set the right expectations. So you see, it's not just a simple yes or no on disclosure. It's about the how and the when, which depends a lot on the context, How significant was the AI's help? It requires thoughtfulness, not just checking a box.
Okay, so taking that a step further.
Yeah.
Once you're being transparent about AI's role, the next big thing has to be ensuring the quality of what it actually produces. Because, let's be real, AI can sound incredibly convincing even when it's completely making things up, hallucinating facts, inventing sources. So that brings us to, the bedrock of trust here. Quality assurance and verification. This means having real processes in place, like clear fact-checking protocols, systematically checking any claims the AI makes.
Oh, definitely. And it's wild how often AI can create citations that look totally real but lead nowhere, or reference non-existent papers. So source verification, actually clicking the links, checking the sources it claims to use, that's absolutely non-negotiable. Beyond that, you need a consistency review. Does this new AI-generated content actually line up with facts you already established? Does it fit with your previous work? And for anything really important, really critical, expert validation is key. Basically, getting a knowledgeable human, maybe you, maybe a colleague, to review the AI's output. These steps, they're how you safeguard accuracy, how you build confidence that the work is reliable, that it holds up. It's your human oversight that turns AI output into something trustworthy.
Right, makes sense. And, to help sort through some of these complex situations, especially when you're juggling different factors, our source material offers a really practical tool. It's called the Ethics Decision Framework. It's basically an acronym, right? Each letter stands for something you should consider, almost like a mental checklist.
That's it exactly. Let's break it down. E is for effects. You ask, what are the potential impacts here, good and bad, of using AI in this specific way? T stands for transparency. Who needs to know about this? What level of disclosure is appropriate? H is harm prevention. What are the risks? How can you minimize any potential negative consequences or harm? I stands for integrity. Does using AI like this align with your professional values, your ethical standards? C is for consent. Does anyone need to be explicitly informed, maybe even give their okay for this approach? And finally, S is for sustainability. Is this a responsible, viable way to operate in the long run?
Okay, that sounds useful. Could we maybe run a quick example through it? Like, say, using AI to draft personalized feedback for, 30 employees during performance reviews. That sounds like it can save a ton of time, but also maybe feel a bit impersonal.
Yeah. Great example. Let's put it through the AFIX framework. So effects, E, positive, huge time savings, potentially more consistent feedback structure for everyone. Negative, as you said, risk of feeling impersonal, maybe generic if not done carefully. Transparency, T. You'd absolutely need to tell your team. You might say, I'm using an AI tool to help draft the initial feedback points to ensure consistency and save time, but I am personally reviewing, editing, and customizing every single review. Be upfront about it being a starting point. Harm prevention, H. The big harm is generic, unhelpful feedback. So you mitigate that by committing to adding specific, concrete examples and personalized insights for every employee. Use the AI for efficiency, not to skip the crucial human judgment part. Integrity, does it align? Yes. If you genuinely review, customize, and take full ownership, ensuring it's fair, accurate, and reflects your actual assessment. If you just rubber stamp the AI, then probably not. Consent, C. You probably don't need individual consent forms, but informing everyone is key. Maybe mention it in a team meeting, explaining the why, that it frees up your time for more meaningful review conversations, not less. And sustainability, S. Could this be sustainable? Yes, if it genuinely leads to better, more focused one-on-one discussions because the admin burden is reduced. If it just becomes a way to rush through reviews, then no. So you see, if we connect this back, the framework doesn't give you a magic answer, but it forces you to think through all the angles in a structured way, helps you make a more informed, ethical call.
That really does break it down well. And speaking of angles, one critical piece that ties right into fairness is bias recognition and mitigation. It's not enough just to know bias can exist in AI. You need ways to actively look for it and address it. Our source mentions things like impact assessment reviews, which basically means asking, okay, if we use this AI output, how might it affect different groups of people? Would the outcomes be fair? Or even simple data sanity checks, looking at the information you're feeding the AI. Is that data potentially skewed somehow? For our listeners, figuring out how to actually do that, how to operationalize bias checks, even without being an AI expert yourself, that's really crucial.
Absolutely. And to make all these practices really stick, the guide strongly suggests formalizing them, moving beyond just keeping it in your head. That means developing professional standards for your own use, or maybe for your team. Think about having actual disclosure templates, like a standard short phrase for emails where AI gave minor help, and maybe a more detailed template for client reports where AI played a bigger role, or maybe a professional guidelines checklist, something you quickly run through before you send off any significant AI-assisted work to an important stakeholder. Just a quick check, did I verify? Is the disclosure clear? Is it fair?
So these aren't just abstract ideas then. They become real tools, things you can actually use today to weave ethical AI use into your regular workflow. It's almost like having a little ethical checklist or copilot right there with you.
Exactly. Which, raises that key question. How do you actually embed all this into your daily routine? Especially when things aren't black and white, when you hit those gray areas. Well, for navigating gray areas, one idea is proportional disclosure. Match the detail of your disclosure to how much the AI actually contributed. A small assist might just need a quick note. A major contribution needs more explanation. Always think about context sensitivity. What are the norms in your specific industry? What are your clients' expectations? What flies in, say, creative brainstorming, might be totally different in financial reporting.
That sounds sensible. But is there a danger of, I don't know, transparency fatigue? Like if I disclose every tiny AI assist, could it just become noise? Or even make people think I'm not doing much myself?
That's a valid concern, and it loops back to that proportional idea. Finding the right balance is key. It's not about overwhelming people. And when you're really unsure, consultation is your friend. Talk it over with trusted colleagues, mentors, or maybe your organization has ethics resources you can tap into. And generally, a good rule of thumb is the conservative approach. If you're truly in doubt, leaning towards a bit more transparency is usually safer than leaning towards less. Now, to actually build ethical AI habits, you need to be intentional. Schedule time for regular reflection. Just pause occasionally and think, how am I using AI? What are the impacts? Consider policy development, even if it's just a simple personal guideline sheet for yourself or your team for common tasks. Commit to continuous education. This field changes so fast. Stay curious about evolving standards and best practices. And finally, create feedback mechanisms. Actively ask stakeholders, clients, colleagues, your team, how they perceive your AI use. Get their input. These aren't just one-off tips. They're ongoing strategies for getting better.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense for building the habits. But what about when things just get messy? Because they will, right? Things won't always fit neatly. When you're facing conflicting principles, maybe speed conflicts with accuracy or transparency conflicts with confidentiality, the advice is to explicitly weigh them, acknowledge the conflict, and crucially, document your reasoning. Why did you prioritize one principle over another in that specific tricky situation? Write it down, even if it's just a quick note. Because honestly, if that decision is ever questioned later, having that ethical receipt, that record of your thinking process, that can be invaluable.
Absolutely priceless. And tied to that, you need clear correction protocols. What's the plan if an error is found in AI-generated content after it's gone out? How quickly do you fix it? Who needs to be informed? Having a process ready before it happens is much better than scrambling afterwards. And that links to proactive stakeholder communication. If you foresee potential concerns or issues related to your AI use, discuss them up front with the people affected. Don't wait for problems to snowball.
Right. So all these practices, the documentation, the correction plans, the communication, they basically empower you. They help you handle the inevitable bumps in the road with integrity, with confidence. It's about building resilience into how you work with AI.
So look, you've now got a really solid framework for using AI ethically, responsibly in your professional life. By understanding those core principles, by putting practical disclosure habits into place, and by developing skills like bias awareness and using that ethics framework, well, you're really positioning yourself well. You're set up to use AI in ways that actually build trust and create real sustainable value. The tools we talked about, the framework, the disclosure ideas, they give you concrete guidance for those tricky ethical spots. And remember, this isn't just about dodging problems. It's about enhancing your reputation, building deeper trust, and making sure AI is genuinely a positive force in your work. Your commitment to doing this thoughtfully, it won't just keep you safe. It'll really make you stand out as a leader, as someone people can trust in this AI-driven world. You're helping set the standard.
And of course, as AI keeps getting smarter, faster, more capable, well, our ethical thinking has to keep pace, right? It's not a one and done thing. So we'll leave you with this thought to chew on. How will your commitment, your personal commitment to transparency, to fairness, to accountability, how will that shape the future? A future where AI actually boosts human potential and professional integrity instead of chipping away at it. We really encourage you, stay curious, keep engaging with these discussions as they evolve, and always be willing to look at your own practices and adapt.